Hey, what is going on, guys? So today we're checking out the PlayArt's Kai Final Fantasy VII Remake Cloud Strife. So this figure was made back in 2017. So this was the first Remake Cloud Strife that they ever made. It's still a great figure, so I thought today we could check it out. So I hope you guys will enjoy the review, and let's get into it. Stay tuned, guys. Okay, so first up, let's take a look at the box. So as you can see, the box is a little bit different compared to the packaging on the newer remake figures. But anyhow, on the front we have a nice photo of the figure itself, and down here we have the Final Fantasy VII Remake and PlayArt's Kai logos. And so as for the sides of the packaging, once again we have the logo of the game. And on the other side it's pretty much the exact same. So on the back we have a couple nice screenshots of the figure itself in various poses. And so here's the inside of the packaging, and once again we have a nice photo of the figure itself. And right over here we have a little bit of text, so if you guys want to read this, then feel free to pause and read. Hope you guys can see that. And over here we have a nice window display to showcase the figure inside the box with all the accessories. And so just a quick look at the accessories. So as you can see, we have a couple pairs of hands. We have these tiny little peg pieces to fit the Buster Sword onto his back. We have the Buster Sword itself, and of course the figure. And apart from that we have the display stand inside the box and the packaging itself. Okay, so first up, I just want to give you guys a quick look at my entire PlayArt's Kai Final Fantasy VII collection. So these are all the figures that I have, so I think for the most part I do have all the figures apart from some of the variants. But yeah, I do have a review of every single figure here. So if you guys want to check it out, then they will be on the channel. I've also got the Fenrir up here. I've got the Daytona right over here. So yeah, if you guys want to check it out, they will be on the channel. But anyhow guys, I hope you like my collection. And with that being said, let's take a closer look at the Cloud Strife. Stay tuned, guys. Okay, so let's go right ahead and take a look at the head sculpts. So yeah, as I mentioned before, this figure came out in 2017. So it's a pretty old figure, and it is a little bit outdated, especially the head sculpts. I mean, don't get me wrong, it's still a pretty nice figure, and I still like the sculpts. But I would definitely recommend the version 2 of Cloud Strife that they made from the remake. It's just a much better figure. But yeah, I mean, I still like this head sculpt a lot. It's got a very nice paint job, and I love how they painted the eyes. As you can see, they're painted a very bright blue, which looks really nice. So moving down here to the body piece of the figure. So I think for the most part, the body piece is pretty similar to the version 2. I don't really see too many differences. Maybe some of the creasing in the clothing is slightly different in the version 2, but yeah, for the most part, I think the body is the same. But anyhow, here's a little close-up on all the texturing, all the detail in this here. I guess it's almost like a jumpsuit, which is a pretty funky design. But yeah, you can see all the detailing, like all the clothing texture. It looks very, very nice. And here's a look at the shoulder pads with all these nuts and bolts sculpted in there. I like how the design of Cloud from the remake has stayed very true to the original game on the PS1. You know, it's just a very nice way to remember the original game from where it came from the roots. So yeah, I like that feature about the new remake of Cloud. But anyhow, here's a look at the waist, with all these belts and buckles sculpted in there. And this is also made out of a soft piece of plastic. Moving down here to the Gauntlet piece, once again, all these nuts and bolts sculpted in there. It's a very, very cool design. And the other arm right here. Moving down to the leg piece. I mean, it is a very plain design for the character, but it does work pretty well. And here's a look at the boots. Very nicely detailed. And so here's the side of the figure, and we have a nice profile of the face. There's really nothing wrong with this figure. It's still got a very, very nice sculpt. And I mean, the hair piece is just so nicely done. I just love the paint job in there. Really nice. And here we have the arm. He's pretty muscly, as you can see. He's a pretty toned guy. And here we have the gloves and the body piece. And of course we have the Buster Sword on his back, which is held in place by tiny little peg joints, which is pretty straightforward. And the legs and the boots. So this is the other side of the figure, and once again we have a nice profile of the face. It's pretty much the exact same from the side. There's really not too much of a difference. But anyhow, here's a look at the face and the hairpiece once again. And the shoulder pads. These really cool details. It's even got like quite a nice bit of texture in there, just to make it look a bit worn out, like almost a bit battle damaged, which is a very cool touch. And here we have the arms. Once again, we have this pretty cool gauntlet piece. And the legs. And of course, the boots. And so here's the back of the figure, and we have the hairpiece once again. So I mean, the hairpiece is very nice, but I think the hairpiece on the version 2 is a lot better. So I'll give you guys a quick comparison a little bit later on. And here we have the Buster Sword. Very iconic blade. Okay, so this is a quick comparison on both versions of the Remake Cloud. So as you can see, we have the original 2017 Cloud Strife, which was almost like a trial version of the character because it didn't turn out exactly how they hoped for. So they made the version 2, which has a much better head sculpt. I mean, it's a pretty drastic difference. I'll give you guys a quick close-up in a second, but here's a look at how the figures stand from the front. I mean, for the most part, the body piece is pretty much the exact same. I don't see any differences here. Even like the paint job in the body is very similar. Now the Buster Swords are a little bit different. It's a tiny bit bigger on the version 2. But anyhow, let's take a close-up. Okay, so as you guys seen before, we have the original 2017 Cloud Strife. And here we have the new version, the version 2 of Cloud Strife, which has a much better head sculpt. I mean, even the hairpiece looks so nicely done. It's just a much superior piece overall. As you can see, there's a very big difference in the sculpting in the hair. I mean, I do think the paint job is maybe a little bit better in the hairpiece. I mean, it looks much more rich. But I just think the sculpting in the hairpiece on this version 2 is so much better. As you can see, the eyes are painted a very bright blue. And he just looks much more true to the game. Whereas on the 2017 version, I mean, I just don't really think it has a great resemblance compared to how he looked in the remake. I mean, bear in mind, this figure came out like 2 or 3 years before the remake actually was released. So of course it doesn't have the best head sculpts compared to how he looked in the final version of the game. And so here's the back of the figures. And so as I mentioned before, the Buster Sword on the version 2 of Cloud Strife is a lot bigger. As you can see, it's much more thicker, like much more wider. It's also like a tiny bit taller as well. Maybe kind of hard to see in the video, but yeah, it is a lot bigger. Even the paint job is also a little bit different. But anyhow, that's a quick comparison on both of these Cloud figures. Okay, so let's take a look at the articulation for the figure. So the figure's got pretty good articulation because there's nothing really in the way to hinder the articulation. It's you know, the joints can move pretty freely. But anyhow, let's take a look at the articulation. So as for the head sculpt, we have a ball joint at the head, and we also have a ball joint at the base of the neck. So it's got a pretty nice range of articulation. As for the shoulder piece, we have these ball, almost like ball ratchet joints. You can kind of hear them. Pretty loud joints in there. And as for the biceps, we have swivels at the biceps, we have ball hinge joints at the elbows, and also ball hinge joints at the wrists. This here shoulder pad piece is also, it's not really on a joint, but you can kind of move it up and down, as you can see. It's a little bit bendy. So as for the torso piece, we have a ball joint in there. And we also have a ball joint at the waist. And as I mentioned before, this here piece at the waist is made of a softer piece of plastic. As for the hips, we have these ball ratchet joints these are true ball ratchet joints, as you can hear. And we also have like a swivel at the thigh, which is such a hidden joint, you can't really see it in there. But yeah, it's just very nicely blended in. We have a double hinge joint at the knee, and this can go all the way up, as you can see. We have a ball hinge joint at the ankle, and we have a hinge joint at the toe. So overall, I mean, figure's got pretty decent articulation. It's very reasonable. So yeah, I think it's probably one of the best out of all the figures, because the joints can move so freely. And this is how we insert the Buster Swords. So as you can see, we have this peg piece attached onto the Buster Swords. We have this hole inside the back, and basically just pop it in place like so, and that's pretty much it. And the hole's in place pretty nicely. But anyhow, that's a look at the articulation for the figure. Okay, so that's pretty much it for the 2017 Cloud Strife. So I hope you guys enjoyed the review. I hope it was helpful. I mean, as I mentioned before, it is a great figure, but if you guys can pick up the version 2, I would say this figure is a lot better in terms of the head sculpts. But anyhow guys, thank you so much for watching. As I mentioned before, I do have all the reviews of all these PlayArt Kai Final Fantasy VII figures. So if you guys want to check it out, then they will be on the channel. And I will have a lot more videos on the way. So be sure to ring that bell notification so you guys don't miss out. But anyhow guys, have a great day. Take care, stay safe, and I will catch you guys on the next one. Alright, take it easy guys.